Well, let's get started. People roll in if they roll in. Not sure. Summertime, people are out of town. People don't want to get in for our zoo. I don't know, but here we are. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the second week of the Summer Pounders, Summer Crushers month. We're tasting this guy today. It's the only rosé that we have in the box today, this month. 2022 Coralie, Damien, Delecheneau, Rosa, Rosé, Rosam, Rosé Panat is what we're tasting today. Cute little label. Uh, just a few announcements. Case Club, this is the last call for the Case Club. So the Case Club will close at noon tomorrow. So if you are planning on participating, put your orders in now so we can get that all settled. Looking at you, Kirsten Olean, since you've asked to be make sure that your Case Club orders do get it. But anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna close that tomorrow. So if you want to participate, get that in now. Speaking of next month's membership, real quick, the invoices are gonna go out on the 15th per usual. Because I am leaving for Korea next week, at the end of next week, I need to wrap up the enrollment right away as soon as it goes out. So starting from the 15th, I'll probably hit people up if you have outstanding invoice just to see if you're joining or not. So it would really help me if you could just let me know if you're not joining via email or text. Or that email that you get from Square, you can reply directly back to that, and then it comes back to me as a message. So you can do that as well. But just let me know if you're not planning on joining next month. But if you are, if you could take care of that right away, I would appreciate it. So I don't have to hound you, I don't have to chase you, because I have to wrap that all up within a couple of days, beginning of next week, so I can wrap it all, pack all the wines, process all of it in the middle of the week, so I can get the fuck out of here and go to Korea at the end of the week. So help me, help you, all of that. In case you have not heard, the next week's theme is going to be Basque country. So it's going to be Spanish Basque as well as a French Basque wines. It'll be kind of fun to see the difference between French and Spanish stylistic difference between two regions. But yeah, so expect some chocolatey, expect some sparkling or spritzy, really acid-driven, high-acid white wines, as well as some sparkling, most likely, and then possibly some red as well. So anyways, we are going to Basque Country next month, in case you have not been informed of what we're doing. Besides that, I don't really have any other announcements. Last but not least, 6 Foot Wine Club's committed to donating 1% of its gross revenue to an organization whose mission statement aligns with its values. And this month, I have chosen World Central Kitchen. I believe for most people, that does not need any introduction. But anyways, if you want to check out what they do, the website link is in the chat box, as well as a donation link if you want to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club. But any questions about anything I just went over real quick? Excellent. In case you are joining us now, we're tasting this guy, the only sparkling, the only rosé that we have in the box this month. 2022 Coralie, Damien, Delecheneau, Rosa, Rosé, Rosam, Rosé Panat is basically what we're tasting today. All right, let's look at the map. Sure. Where are we? Here we go. Come on. There we go. All right. Here's a map of France. Right? We are in Loire Valley this week. So this right in the smack dab in the middle, the longest region in terms of length. As you can see, it runs all the way from the Atlantic Ocean and then running all the way to pretty much the smack dab center of the country. This entire length of it the wine region called Loire Valley. It's one of my favorite regions in France. Besides Champagne, as you all know, self-proclaimed Champagne whore that I am. Somebody were to ask me what French region would you drink for the rest of your life, you could only pick one region, I would undoubtedly pick Loire Valley. Just because it's such a varied styles that come out from here. You can pretty much find everything, any style for something for everyone here. We're talking about still, dry, lusciously sweet, beautiful, butcher-sized dessert wine, to bone dry, like acid-driven, mineral-driven wine, to red, white, sparkling still. I mean, you find every style that comes across here. And, you know, region being this long that goes across the entire region of France, you can imagine there'd be some sort of climate or soil differences here, which is what makes it cool. If you look a little more closely, yep, that's not it. That's not it. This is what it looks like. So it's kind of divided into 4 regions. For most of you, this will be a review, but for some of you, maybe it's the first time you're looking at Loire map. But on the left, near the city of Nantes, is a Painan type. This is where Muscadet comes from. So sure, if you've been to French bistros or any French restaurants that serve some oysters or seafood tower and things like that, I'm sure you've had Muscadet. It is the perfect kind of oyster wine. High acid, mineral driven, a little bit of like a salinity running through. So that's kind of what we're talking about on the left. Anjou and Saumur, next further inland near the city of Angers. This is a region that's really known for Anjou, known for their Anjou Blanc, which is a Chenin Blanc, as well as you start to get some really amazing dessert wine made out of Chenin Blanc as well, coming out of here. And then moving in further inland, you get around a ton of terrain, further extension. So now you start to getting into some Cabernet Franc. There's a Cabernet Franc being made in Anjou as well, but terrain is really where it's known for Cabernet Franc. And you start to see some Sauvignon Blanc enter the picture. And then as you go in further in the center, Central Island, is essentially this is where some of the probably the most famous Loire Valley are located. Places like Sancerre, probably places where people recognize the most. This is where Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir are the kings here. And in the middle, we're talking about Chenin Blanc and Cabernet Franc. Really, on the left, we're talking about Melon de Bourgogne for Muscadet. But in the middle, there's a whole lot of other things that grow here as well. Gamay, name it, Gamay. They call it Côte, which is a Malbec. There's also Grollo, as well as Pinot d'Aunis. So all these kind of indigenous varieties that also grow here as well. So as you can imagine, the varieties are varied, as well as stylistically, we're talking about wines that span a very wide ranging styles. As you go from left to right, the weather or the climate becomes much more continental, meaning it gets really fucking cold in the wintertime. It gets really hot in the summertime. So as you go here, Sancerre, Puy-Fumé, Quincy, the challenge becomes here is the ripening the grapes. So if you ever get Sancerre, it always has that little bit of green, pyrazine kind of notes and running through. It's because they really struggle with ripening their grapes. Though with the climate change and global warming, that's becoming less and less of a challenge. In fact, they are actually farming sooner and sooner, earlier and earlier. But nonetheless, historically speaking, this gets really cold. We're talking, it's right next to Burgundy. So Burgundy is right here. This is Chablis. So we're talking about Burgundy running through here, and we talk about how marginal Burgundy's climate is, how cold it is, how they struggle with ripening the grapes. So this is right next to it. So we're talking about very, very continental. But as you get closer to Atlantic, you get a lot more maritime influence. You get Atlantic influence of because it's next to a big body of water, because the moderating influence. The weather, it still gets cold in the winter, still gets hot in the summertime, but it's not as dramatic as it is in the center, and then it kind of spans anywhere all in between. Um, and as far as the soil type goes here, there's a specific limestone here called Tuffeau, Tuffeau. It is a very kind of a soft, porous type of limestone. If you've ever been to Loire Valley, by the way, I mean, this is if you have children and you want to go to France, like this is a great place to go because they're just castles and palaces everywhere here. All the medieval time castles, they exist all through the Loire River. Looks a lot like a Disneyland. Uh, a lot of stories about princes and princesses and all of that. But all those castles are pretty much, if you look at it from far, it's quite white. And it's because it's all made out of this tuffeau, this limestone, this particular type of limestone that I'm talking about. So all the bedrock that kind of runs through with an exception of Nantes, I mean, there's some here as well, but really starting from Anjou and Touraine and going all the way to the center. This tuffeau is the bedrock, this limestone. It's porous. They've cut it. There are like quarries here. They've excavated a lot of it to build those castles, but all those hollowed out ground has become basically wine caves. And so a lot of wineries, a lot of importers, exporters, as well as just wine trade people have stored wines underneath this cave made out of this limestone. But that bedrock also gives a lot of minerality to the wines, a lot of that kind of mineral acid backbone that you expect from anything that's grown on limestone. But that is actually definitely the case here. Arguably, that's part of the reason why Chenin, even the Chenin Blanc, is grown everywhere around the world. Chenin here, which originates from here, is considered the greatest expression of that particular grape variety, just because of that rich kind of a calcareous limestone minerality that the wines express because of the bedrock that runs through here. But again, going from all the way to from Nantes to going to the center, we're seeing like sand and clay here, more and more tuffeau. There's also particular flinty kind of a mineral that it's called silex, Silex, that exists in the center. That's particularly what gives Sancerre its kind of a unique mineral flinty character out there. So very exciting, interesting place in terms of wine styles and what happens here. And also, this is also kind of a hotbed of epicenter of a French kind of a natural wine scene here. A lot of young natural winemakers, as well as old school natural winemakers that have kind of settled here. Now the land here is not very cheap, but back in the days, this used to be quite affordable. So a lot of people have landed here. Again, working with so many different varieties, working with so many different soil types, so many different kind of climate change, different climate patterns. This has kind of become a really fun place for a lot of natural wine people to settle. So really fun, really cool, really exciting. I always am very excited about cool Loire Valley wines because there's always fun. But if you ask old school people like Marty, even though he admits it now, back in the days, he was like, who the fuck wants to drink Loire Valley wines? It was very much looked down upon, but these days it's very much of a cool, hip place. Not only just cool and hip, but actually legit. Some of the most expensive as well as some of the most sought after wines in the world come from this region. So highly recommend you guys drink more Loire Valley wines, as well as go travel there. Because there's really good food, really good wine, and it's really pretty out there. So check it out. All right, so let's talk about who makes this wine. You saw some pictures earlier already, but this is them. So this is so you might have seen, I think I sent this out on the email chain, maybe I did not. So by the way, this is Damien and Coralie. Their names are right on the label, the front label, Coralie and Damien Delecheneau. Young couple, husband and wife team. I believe Damien's only like 34 right now. So he took over his family estate called Lagrange Tiffany. You kind of see the Lagrange written over there. He's a fifth generation winemaker. So this is a 5th-generation family-owned winery located in Amboise, Loire Valley. By the way, Amboise, point that out if you want to look. It's not on this map, but Amboise is kind of like right around here. This is where Amboise is. That's actually where I stayed. It's one of the cities I stayed in, not so much in Loire. You may recognize some names like Vouvray, right? Some of the Chenin Blanc. Montlouis-sur-Loire. Montlouis is a really exciting place right here. It's the southern end of the Vouvray, below the Loire River. A lot of experimental, a lot of cool different wines coming out from here. Anyways, they are located in Amboise. Their winery is here. And then they farm about 16 hectares, half of it in Montlouis-sur-Loire, all dedicated to Chenin Blanc. And then the other half in Train, Amboise, dedicated to the reds. So we're talking about Cabernet Franc, Côte, Malbec, Gamay, Grelot, Pinot Donis. So all those things that I mentioned earlier. Let's go back. They're one of the rising stars. They're kind of really, everybody's been watching them for a long time. They've been winning awards every year. Their wine is becoming kind of quite sought after these days. Their high-end wines are actually starting to get allocated, which was unthinkable even 5 years ago. So they're growing quite fast in terms of reputation. Yeah, I've been working with their wines for well over 5 years, probably like 8 years or so at this point. And every year their wines get better. Every year their wines get just even more just well made. And the farming gets better, you can tell. And yeah, they're just really settling in, these young people, and really carrying on the family tradition and making some of the most exciting and stunning wines coming out of Loire Valley. They have 2 lines, so Lagrange Tiffany, the family name, family estate. They're more the single parcel, more quote unquote higher end wines. And then they started this new line, the Coralie and Damien Delecheneau line, back in 2011. And then their Négoce line, which means it's not estate fruit. So they're actually purchasing these fruits from their neighbors and other farmers that share that similar organic and biodynamic farming principles. So they're certified organic and biodynamic producer. So they're buying this fruit. So this particular wine that we're drinking tonight is all made from their purchased fruit, not their own farmed grape. But they treat all their wines pretty much equal, whether it's a Lagrange Tiffany line or the Delecheneau line. They make the wines pretty much exactly the same. So we're talking about, and these all come from like almost 100-year-old vines, like 70 to 80-year-old vines. So we're talking about really old vine, made the same way, but just purchased in a maybe different parcel that is not as sought after parcel. So we're talking about incredible value. This Delecheneau line is their kind of like quote unquote entry level. They just want to introduce people to their style of wines at a much more approachable pricing point. But yeah, even Lagrange Tiffany is honestly not that expensive. But really, so that's the difference between the two. In case you're wondering why they call it, name this wine under their name instead of the family estate name, because there are 2 different lines of wine. One's from their estate fruit, the other one is from purchased fruit. And having said that, it's because they treat all their wines exactly the same. All their like different parcel Chenin Blanc, for example, are all made exactly the same way. So this is another fun producer to kind of taste through different plots within Loire Valley, because it's same producer, made the same way, same grape, but different site selection. So this is a really cool way to experience that French concept of a terroir. But yeah, these guys are really all about making some really site-driven wines with a sense of place. The domain is a long time family affair. It was created at the end of the 19th century by Alphonse Delecheneau as a traditional kind of polyculture and crop and livestock farm. So and to this day, it continues that way. So it's not just a grape farm or winery. They also grow other crops as well as a livestock. Damien, the 5th generation, took over in 2002 at the age of 22 years old. So he took it over when he was a baby. So we're talking about 2002. So That would be 22 years ago. So he'd be like 44, not 34. So he's 44 years old now, but he took over when he was 22. He immediately started transitioning his family plots into organic farming. Back in 2002, it wasn't a hot thing to do there, but being the young guy, taking it into a different direction. So yeah, in 2016, he took the lead at a local iconic grower of biodynamic pioneer of the region named Francois Chedane. By the way, incredible wines. If you can get your hands on it, it's very allocated. If you can get your hands on it, you should get a bottle if you can even find it. But he took over the appellation, the Mont-Louis-sur-Loire. That's where 50% of their, so 8 hectares of their estate vineyards are in, dedicated to Chenin Blanc. He represents that entire AOC. He also teaches enology to aspiring winemakers in the region, as well as works with the children. So he does a lot of community work. So he's not only beloved, not only because of his wine, but he just does a lot of work with the community, wine community, as well as his own community. So yeah, very, very respected and beloved people. Coralie joined, by the way, they met during studying enology together back in Bordeaux. So they went to school in Bordeaux to study. And then they went on to work harvest in California, as well as in other parts of France and South Africa. And then they returned back home to take over their family winery. Coralie officially joined the family winery as a partner in 2009. So since 2009, these two have been at the helm, just really continuing on the family tradition. By the way, grange means barn in French, and Tiffaine is the traditional name of the place where the winery is located. So the name La Grange Tiffaine is essentially basically the winery's address. Back in the days, if you say La Grange Tiffaine, they knew exactly what it was. So yeah, in case you're wondering what the name is. Just a few more pictures here. This is what the kind of vines look like. State of the art winery. They use a lot of cement tank. So you have both the cement tank here, the single cylindrical, as well as the rectangular. But yeah, they prefer to work a lot with the cement over stainless steel or barrels. They do use barrels, they do use stainless steel, but they prefer to age their stuff in cement. They're big fans of cement. All right. What is this wine? So this is 100%, well, not 100%. This is all organic, biodynamic, certified 70 to 80-year-old old vines of mostly Gamay, Goyo, and Côte, Malbec. Those three that I was telling about. But there's also a little bit of Pinot Donis, Pinot Noir, Chenin Blanc, Chasselas, Uni Blanc. So a lot of other things that were kind of co-planted in the vineyard. They kind of threw them all in there. So we're talking about really kind of like a field blend from the plots that they got this wine from. They're all grown on clay with a silex that's flinty kind of a limestone that I was telling you about that really defines the characters of Sancerre. But all grown on that tuffeau bedrock. So we're going to see some, even though it has plenty of we're really generous with this fruit, but in the backbone of this wine, you really feel that kind of tension of that limestone that I always talk about with the limestone wines. The winemakers themselves call this actually a swimming pool wine. So it's actually a perfect thing for this month's theme. Typical method ancestral, Pernat Pétillant Natural, Pernat short for Pétillant Natural, which means, in French means natural bubble. So it's 100% direct press, meaning as soon as grapes come into the winery, they press it off the skin. So they just press it, get the juice, separate the juice off the skins. And then they do a short temperature control fermentation. And then before the wine, all the sugar is eaten by yeast, they bottle it in this exact same bottle. And then they let the fermentation finish inside this bottle. And because there's nowhere for the gas to go, CO2 to go, it melts into the wine and it becomes sparkling. It's a very typical method ancestral or how pennets are made. This wine does get disgorged. So on this has a disgorgement date of March 2024. So yeah, you will see some sediment on the bottom. Mine has been standing up upright for a few days, so mine's all settled to the bottom. So my one looks pretty clear. But if you want to mix it all in, I like to do that. I usually like to taste both. Maybe if you have it like this, taste it without the sediment mixed in, but then mix the sediment in and taste it again to see if you prefer that. I oftentimes prefer sediment. I think it kind of gives a little savory touch, a little more kind of textural element to the wine. But that's up to you. It's really your prefer style. But yeah, there you go. Any questions about anything I just went over before we get into tasting? Perfect.
How do they know that the wines they purchase are organic?
Because they work with the farmers. They know these farmers, they know their farming practices. And oftentimes, it's not always the case. Oftentimes, when the winemaker contracts with a farmer, they have some saying on the farming practice. So they will say, I will buy this entire plot and lot if you were to do it organic or things like that, or grow it a certain way. But yeah, they only work with the farmers that farm organic. And I assume these are people that are like their neighbor. They've known each other for years, generations. So. Any other questions? Perfect. Ooh. And the land of some amazing chateaux. Yeah. So, all right, let's taste it. Who wants to take the appearance?
I'll take the appearance.
All right. Let's see.
Got to put the chart up.
Yep. Bring it up right now. There you go.
Okay. I say it's clear.
Yeah.
And intensity is a medium.
Yep.
And this to me is a salmon color.
Yeah, it's not like pink. It's funny, like in the bottle, when I looked at it, I thought it looked a lot redder, but actually in the glass, I totally agree with you. I think this is a lot more like a salmon than ruby. So yeah, I'll call this about
certainly not a pink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll call. Yeah, I agree with your call. I'll call this about maybe medium minus medium, somewhere around there. Not fully pale, a little more than a pale, but maybe not a little less.
And
than
then I did notice the deposit on the bottom, but it's not in my glass. So, and it does have the bubbles, the petulance.
Yep, definitely see the bubbles presence here. I see it coming up.
They get excited when it's poured into the glass, and then they kind of disappear. But it's still in the taste.
Yeah, definitely. And then depending on whether the sediment has been mixed into your wine, the clarity you will have a different call. But right now, because my wine's been sitting up for days, so my wine is very clear right now. But if I were to shake this up, I'll probably call it a little bit of a haze. But yeah, for now, for my wine, so it's very clear. Great, you get to pick the next person.
Well, anybody want to volunteer? No, so the guy right below me is Joe Knuble.
Alrighty.
All right, Joe. So
I just finished the patio. I haven't quite got my furniture set up yet, but nose. I'd say it's pretty clean.
Yeah, this wine is clean. There's nothing nothing fucked about this wine, nothing dirty about this wine. And then they use a very minimal, sometimes they use no sulfite, but they usually use a little bit of sulfite. Yeah. So
I like this is great.
Yeah, this one is clean, this one is sound. Intensity?
I call this medium plus.
Yeah, me too. It's quite aromatic.
I'm getting it like pretty off, pretty far.
Medium plus aromas. Oh, you got.
So, ooh, geez. I could call elderflower.
Okay. Yeah, something a little flowery. Yeah, a little floral, a little pretty. Yeah, totally. I get that.
But like the fruit is like very like deep and zesty. Um, I don't know. I maybe call like a blood orange, not like
Okay.
necessarily like
Yeah,
orange peel.
I think actually blood orange is an excellent call because I was going to say like I get a little bit of that like the orangey kind of like a citrusy kind of a
It's like a darker savory fruit note
yeah
than
yeah
you know.
yeah. I think blood orange is an excellent call actually. Yeah, totally. There's definitely some citrus note here, but it's not like lemon or like even particularly like orange.
Yeah, it's like it's like a I don't know, an old grapefruit.
Yeah. But yeah, I no, I think blood orange is dead on, honestly. Right on. Any stone fruit, any tropical fruit?
Not really. I'll get stone fruit, tropical.
I mean, yeah. How about red fruit?
Nothing really there. Red fruit. I mean, so I'm kind of biased. I got an awesome blueberry Amish pie that I'm like halfway through. My bottle's halfway empty. So I'm getting kind of like I'm getting some of that like black jammy stuff.
You got black
my
fruit
bottle
or red fruit?
almost. Like a jamminess of both, like a little pie.
Yeah.
I'm getting pie.
To
Yeah.
me, this is like
Whether
fucking.
you call it like a blackberry pie, blueberry pie, or like
Berry
strawberry
pie.
barb,
I don't know.
something like that. I don't know. So I'm getting some pie.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really generous amount of fruit here, and to me, this is like raspberry red currant like overload. I mean, it's just like
Yeah. Okay.
so much of that pretty like, peak of the season, ripe raspberry currant. Um, yeah, it's and to me, this is a lot more red fruit than this
Yeah,
black
I
fruit.
put in the strawberry rhubarb category.
Yeah, strawberry rhubarb, I think is a great call for sure. But yeah, a lot of that popping through, just really, really rich kind of red fruit.
Yeah.
Texture of the fruit, you mentioned some like pie.
Like I said, I got like some like kind of some jam, a little bit of
Okay.
stewed fruit.
Yeah.
Like if you ever made a blueberry pie from scratch, it's kind of got that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing underripe.
Any fruit pie.
Yeah. There's definitely nothing
herbaceous,
underripe or unripe about this. It's like super ripe. Okay.
The rest of it, nothing. No herbaceous, no herbal, none of that.
Yeah. I don't get any green. I don't get any of that. Any spice, any minerality?
Nope. I would say there's a touch of biscuit.
Touch of what?
Biscuit.
Biscuit, yeah, like a little lees thing. Yeah, I mean, that's something you can definitely kind of expect from some, especially wines like this where you see some lees aging, or there's some lees before you get. It does get disgorged, but you know it does sit on the lees for a little bit. To me, also going back to flower thing, and you know this could be a power suggestion, but I guess some like hibiscus vibe to this thing. Hibiscus as well as some like in the fruit territory. I guess some like pomegranate, raspberry, that strawberry rhubarb, red currant.
Yeah, it's all like those like deep red.
Yeah.
Fruit. Deep
red.
Yeah.
Totally. Don't get a whole lot of like this. Some like maybe some like West Stony kind of thing, but honestly, I get a lot more of this on my palate than I do on the nose. But yeah, I think there's some little bit of like a Swiss Stony kind of a thing going on. Any secondary? You did mention a little bit of biscuity kind of a thing. But besides that, any secondary, any other tertiary?
No, none of that. No.
Yep, none of that. Very, very much a primary, fresh kind of a thing. Cool. You get to pick the next person for the palette.
Oh, I gotta go see who's below me. Anyone want to volunteer, first of all? So Zoom changed the interface on me recently.
God damn it, this wine is delicious.
I can't even get out of the speaker view. I don't know. Boone, who's
do it, Joe.
blaming on your chart?
I'll do it, Joe.
Dave?
Funny enough, you are actually right below Joe on my screen, Dave.
Yeah, and Joe is right below you on my screen. So
All right, there it is.
Brady Bunch. So
All right, palate.
all right, this wine is dry.
This wine is dry. A lot of fruit. So a lot of people, this is the kind of wine that confuses people, or some people will get confused. They're like, so sweet, like there's so much fruit, but the wine itself is bone dry. There's no sugar on this whatsoever. So very dry. Acidity.
As usual, I'm confused by the bubbles and the acidity, but I would say this is medium to medium plus.
Medium plus for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got some acid. I mean, it's got some Shannon in there. Yeah, it's a medium plus acid. Tannin, we're gonna have
I
to
would
talk
say
about
there's
that.
some tannin in this.
Yeah,
Maybe a medium minus. I really taste a lot of the Gamay in this, but I've been drinking a lot of Gamay lately, so it is very top of my palate. But there's some grip in there.
so this is a complete direct press. There's no skin contact whatsoever on this wine. I do think there's a little bit of that. To me, the way this expresses is the bubbles are actually quite delicate. It's not as robust as I thought it was going to be.
But you see
So
the
maybe
Gamay?
that it's coming off, but to me, I don't really get much tannin on this thing.
Okay.
But
Maybe.
alcohol.
I would say this is pretty light. At least
What
it
do you
feels
think
like to
the
me.
percentage is? Call it the percentage.
I would say 11.
Yeah.
11 and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 12, but
I didn't spy.
12 and a half.
Okay.
So medium, right in the middle.
Thirsty.
Body.
I would say this is a good solid medium to maybe a
Mhm.
little on the medium plus side.
Agreed. I'm gonna call this medium as well. Mousse.
I would say this is creamy. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it delicate, but
Nope.
it is, and I don't like bubbles, but I really like this. So
All right. So creamy. I would call this a creamy as well. Flavor intensity.
I would call this a medium to medium plus. It's
Yeah,
not overwhelming, but it's very flavorful.
100%. I think it's very expressive. It's not a shy wine. It lets you know all the flavor there. I think all the things that Joe picked out on the nose, I think is coming out very clearly in the palate as well. So
Great.
yeah, I would call this medium plus as well. Somewhere between medium plus, leaning closer to medium plus.
Mhm.
Do you agree with all the things that were called out, or is there
I
something else
would
that stick
say,
out to you?
from your discussion about the nose, there's a lot of strawberry in this to me.
Mhm.
Um, I don't
That's it.
I don't think from a palate perspective it manifests anything as cooked as it did on the nose.
Yeah,
It's very pleasant. It's what I would expect from this color of wine.
yeah,
It's because I taste the Gamay. I think there's a little sort of brambly nature to this,
yeah,
but primarily it's sort of like the strawberry summer
yeah,
fruit thing for me.
yeah. I think that's an excellent observation. That kind of brambly, a lot of berry, unidentifiable, but berry, definitely kind of a family thing for sure. But yeah, I mean, the touch of that floral thing, Joe called it elderflower, call that some
Yep.
hibiscus,
Yeah.
that blood orange, red fruit, a lot of that brambly, bright poppy, berry, raspberry, strawberry, red currant, all of that. Fruit is just really fresh and ripe. Nothing underripe about this. Not much of other kind of complexity in terms of
Okay.
flavors.
Yeah.
I do think there's
little
a
bit
good
like of herbaceousness only because I ate too many strawberry stems as a child, but that's what it reminds me of.
yeah. Um, there's a good like attention to this one, and it helps that the acid is up there. Like medium plus acid really kind of gives it taut, keeps it taut. But yeah, there's a little bit of that like kind of limestone tension that I always get on wines that are grown in limestone. Not hugely mineral wine, but
No.
definitely not lacking, I'll be able to say. And any secondary, any tertiary?
Well, I mean, like Joe, I get a little bit of like biscuit,
Yeah.
brioche kind of something. It's not overwhelming,
Yeah.
but lovely, but not a whole lot other than that.
Yeah. Again, this is meant to be a swimming pool wine, meant to be a very simple, easy approaching, but just made correct and delicious.
Yep.
Finish. How long do the flavors stick around?
Longer than expected. I would say this is medium plus for me.
Right.
I expect a pet nat to fade pretty quick, and this does not. So
agreed. I think this is somewhere between medium plus, maybe leaning into medium plus, but it's not short, just hit it and quit it, kind of like a glue pound juice. There's definitely some length to this thing, concentration. Yeah, really, really pretty well-made wine. All right, take it home for us. How good is this wine? Would you age it?
Well, I'm always skeptical of the bubbles in the crown cap related to this. I don't think it's meant to be aged. It would be interesting to see whether it fades if it was aged, but I mean, when they label it themselves as a pool pounder, it's not one you keep for 10 years.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
definitely.
a couple to see, like if Woong went through my cellar like he did last time and said you need to drink that now before it goes bad. I don't know if this would be on that list 2 years from now or not, but it's got enough acid to keep. It's just a question of whether it gets any better at that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it get worse, but I mean,
excellent
I think this is exactly what it's designed to be right now.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So there's enough acid here I don't think it's going to fall apart. I think you can enjoy this for the next year or two. It's not meant to be aged. It's all meant to be enjoyed young, fresh, youthful now. And there's a point that Dave made that we talk about time to time. But just because certain wines can age, right? It has a structural element, it has a concentration, all of that. That does not necessarily mean the wine is probably going to get better, right? Because to me, the whole design of this wine, the whole intent behind this wine is like the say swimming pool wine, like it's meant to be fresh, young, like enjoy it now kind of wine. When all this freshness kind of gets started converted into non-fruit, kind of other complexity things, I don't necessarily know it's going to be more delicious. Maybe if you're kind of a, thinking wise, you may be interesting. You're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But in a hedonistic level, I don't know if it's going to be more delicious. So I would say, drink this now, enjoy it over the next maybe year or two. It will probably be fine. But yeah, awesome. This is a drink now kind of wine.
Yep.
In terms of a quality level, what did you call it quality level? Did you call it quality level, Dave?
I would say this is a very good wine, for what it is. I mean, I don't love Pet Nat, and I've drank almost all of this already, so that's the best indication I can give.
Love it.
I did get an audit mail today, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I think it's delicious. I love the fact that it's not too carbonated. Like I love the bubbles being because the Pet Nats that are more aggressive, I just can't do.
Yeah,
make me
agree. I really enjoy the level of the delicacy of the bubbles here. It's the texture part.
Totally and serve this to others who had no idea what it is. And as I said, because I can take so much of the gamay that they put in this I like it just really is in line with my palate right now.
Yeah, right on. But yeah, balance, concentration wise, we call it medium plus, both on the nose and the palate. Complexity wise, we didn't have any secondary, tertiary, maybe touch of that biscuity kind of a thing, but really we're talking about like a primary fruit, but quite a few things there. So maybe medium to medium plus there. Well, let's call it medium. And then the length, we called it medium plus as well, somewhere between medium plus. So we're landing squarely between somewhere between good and very good, leading towards very good. So being generous, I'm gonna call this very good. Yeah, and there's some truth to what Dave's saying. A lot of Pet Nats lacks kind of the finesse, the elegance, and even the concentration to a point. But I think this wine really hits all of those things in the right spot. It has really good craftsmanship behind it. It's clearly made by somebody who knows how to make good wines, and they just want to make this kind of style of wine. There's incredible balance and finesse to this wine, harmony to this wine. Yeah, and it's pure, like it's purity and it's elegance, which is something the words that I would use to describe their other wines as well. But it shows through even in their entry level pen that's meant to be a swimming pool wine, which is
Here's
awesome.
my question though, like again with these field blends where they are buying, other people's grapes. I know it's a pretty small community, so they probably really know these people. How consistent would this be over time, right? Like, is this going to taste similar next year than it did this year, or is it going to be a totally different thing? Because this
Depends.
is lovely and balanced. One year you're going to get one that's got a whole bunch of like, well, we had a lot of extra grape X.
Yeah.
And changes it so much. I just don't keep track of vintages well enough to be able to say, I really like this one in 2022, but like 2023 sucked,
Yeah. So if you taste this wine in 2021, I'm willing to bet it tasted very, very different. That's just the vintage that even the Beaujolais, we all talked about how lean 2021 was, and this area got decimated as well. Like whole Central Europe just got central part of France got decimated. So I'm willing to bet this would have been a lot less generous in fruit, probably a lot more acid, maybe possibly even some green notes. Is what I would guess. I don't remember trying this in 2021, so I can't tell you. But in terms of vintage differences, it's getting less and less regular in some way because it's all getting pretty warm. So they are not having the climate, the weather's not as marginal as it used to. Right. But on the other hand, there are these kind of freak things that happen, like freak ice storm that comes through, like freak late frost that just kind of fucks up the harvest. But in terms of like ripening the grapes, it's actually getting better and better for these areas that was once too cold. Right. But yeah, I even whether it's a field blend or not, I mean, the ripeness and how the plants grow is going to be affected by the vintage. So I would expect to see some vintage difference, whether it's one way or the other. Allison, did you have a question?
Yes, I had two questions. Well, a question and a comment. The question is, given that it's like not super bubbly and like I've noticed just in the, I don't know, what is it, an hour since I opened it, that it's like gotten significantly less. Is this like tomorrow, is this flat, or what can or should we expect if we don't drink it tonight?
I wouldn't say it would be flat, but it will be definitely less bubbly. In general, pet nat loses its carbonation dramatically over 24-hour period. In general,
yeah.
I wouldn't say it won't be drinkable, it won't be enjoyable, but I would say at most probably drink all of it by tomorrow. Like today and tomorrow, you should be fine. Day after, it starts to get pretty flat.
Great, motivating. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. My comment is, what if next year's Bauge box is a Loire Valley box?
Oh,
Dave likes this idea. There's, because I know like the Beaujolais has the nice like the cruise setup, but there's like the 4 regions, which I've already forgotten. So we could do like 3 wines from each region. Yeah. We could do like a red, a white, and like a sparkling or rosé from each region.
Yeah.
Or something, just because you and this wine club have like made me all about the Loire Valley, but I still feel like I like know that I like the Loire Valley, but don't actually really know what I mean by that necessarily. Like if someone probed further, that I would not be able to
Yeah, so here's my
I feel the
provide
suggestion.
any
same way.
backup.
I would love
Um,
like a deeper dive to Loire. That
Yeah,
sounds
let's
Yeah.
but let's
Okay.
not take away the Bosch box because I live on that for months.
Third or fourth or
We could have a
whatever.
club
Let's
within
do
the
a Bosch
club.
box, and when then my Bosch box runs out, let's do a Loire box.
All right.
I would recruit for that.
I do feel like there'd be a revolt if the Bosch box went away.
Can we do both?
I think what we're saying is just
Yeah.
like more extra boxes.
Yeah. The add-on
People would keep
boxes.
it.
Okay.
Do a
Heard.
Loire box for the summer.
Okay. Heard.
I need to have a co-drinker back in my house because it does get difficult for me to keep up. I know.
With that kind of attitude, Allison, definitely.
I know. It's a failures attitude. I'm sorry. I'll do better.
All right. Out of curiosity, did you all like this wine, by the way?
Yeah, it's great.
Did
I would-
anybody not?
I would
like
put this in a pint glass and chug it.
Yeah, right? It's
I
so
did.
good. It just goes down so easy. It's delicious. I would honestly, this is a kind of wine I wouldn't judge. I mean, honestly, I think I mean there are better wines to do this with, but honestly, put this on a pint glass, put it on rocks, just sip on it while you're like floating in the pool. It'd be fucking fantastic.
The only
That's
thing
what
I can say is, if this was warm, it would not be very good at all.
Yeah,
but
I've
why
been,
would
we've been throwing ice cubes in it the whole time.
Yeah.
But
You have to keep it cool. I mean, it's like I think it would be.
Yeah, get yourself a Yeti cooler
I
cup.
had all
and
the
put some ice
things,
on it.
man. Don't worry. Cooling technology is not a problem.
A frosty pewter mug.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Pewter and PetNat. Now they're Chris, you know, hit it out of the park.
Love it. Did anybody not like this one? Just out of curiosity, or just not care for it? They're like, meh. Okay, good. All right, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? Remember, we call this very good, made by a rising star. They have some allocated wines, very well-known people, but it is their entry-level purchase fruit wine. So how much would you think this would be? $23, $28, $26, $30, $23, $27, $26, $25, $30, $27, $32. All right. You guys are getting good. This wine on a retail shelf would be $28. So for $28, I think is a fucking hell of a value. I think it's great. I buy this at
Yeah.
20.
If you think about it as like glasses, when you think about like buying at a restaurant a glass of wine for $15 and you can get a glass of this basically for 5 or 6 if you
Yeah,
bought it, it's pretty crazy.
yeah. I mean, if you look at it that way, wine price at restaurant is just fucking insane. But
Well, I mean, they are, they are. But it's still it helps me justify Woong.
right.
Helps
The
me
fact that you can
justify.
get a glass of this for 5 and some
Yeah.
change, I think it's an excellent value. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Agree. Any questions? Any disagreements? Any comments about the wine?
I have a question about the crown cap.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'm just ignorant, but I have never noticed the one with the seal on the inside like this. Is this a common thing or is it relatively new?
No,
There's a plastic seal in the middle. Normally
yeah,
it's just like a bottle
this is
cap.
pretty. This is pretty common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not detail oriented, apparently.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Their main line, do they do pet naps too with their?
No, their main line is pretty much Chenin and Caf Franc. I want to say I don't know if they do it every vintage, but they have made Pinot Donis. But it's really the Shannon is what they're. Their Shannon is stunning. It's awesome. It's unbelievable, and it ages beautifully. Like
Can
it's
you get that
delicious.
there?
Like what's that?
Can you get it?
Yeah, I'm good. It drinks
Think it's gonna be
beautifully
on Case
upon
Club?
release, but yeah, it ages beautifully. So, and it's not that expensive, honestly. We're talking about probably a bottle for anywhere. I mean, depending on how specified the parcel is, we're probably anywhere between like 30 to like $45. They're most expensive is like retail. So it's very, very good. Yeah, I'll definitely look at what they have. Clef de Sol is their kind of like they have a higher end one than that, but Clef de Sol is excellent value for what you get, and then it ages beautifully, it drinks beautifully. If you ever wanted to see what beautiful expression of Shannon looks like from Loire Valley, like that's like, go check it. Like I'll if there's enough quantity, if it's available, I'll definitely put it on Case Club. I'll let you guys know, but it should be. There's usually a good stock in DC, so. But it's amazing. Their wines are incredible. Their Shannon is incredible. And for those of you who are into dessert wines as well, looking at you, Dave T, they also make dessert wine, which is delicious.
Which is, what do they call it exactly?
I forget the name of what they call it, but I think it's. No, you know what? Maybe it's not them that I'm thinking about because they only make their estate fruit. The Lagrange Champagne only comes from their estate fruit, which is only in terrain. But technically, you wouldn't be able to make dessert wine and put that appellation on there. They don't allow it there. So,
I mean, I've certainly had a lot in that region. I just never don't
yeah.
remember a lot of Anjou stuff for sure.
Yeah. Remember that time when I put that box together for you to like taste a bunch of people on? There was a Omoine Chenin Blanc. They definitely make Court de Chambon Chenin Blanc dessert one. That's
That stuff
fantastic.
was amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, any other questions? Just out of curiosity, how many of you are like Loire Valley wine drinkers? Like, do you guys, Dave, obviously, but do you guys like go out when you're in restaurants? Do you, or just in the restaurants or at at home or wherever when you buy wine? Do you guys drink Loire wines? Much Loire wine? Just out of
I
curiosity.
usually pick some Rhone Valley wines just because that's what I know, and I usually like to kind of explore something completely before I jump to the next thing. So
Yeah.
In Rhone Valley stuff usually like a lot more accessible and
Yeah.
available, I should say. Yeah.
It's also rough season. Summer is a rough time.
The answer is no.
Rhone wine.
The answer is no.
My answer is no. We usually look for the Côte de Rhone,
Yeah.
Rhone Valley.
Yep.
I drink. I think like 85% of the wine I drink is from you, Woong. So I don't have a lot of like free choice necessarily, but I definitely like feel intuitively when I see the Valley, I'm like, oh, I think I would like that one. So I think I probably do, just because my impression, again, uneducated, in need of education and structure, Woong, in need of a Loire box.
Okay.
But my general impression is that I like Loire Valley wine.
Okay.
Also, the other one that has stuck out to me, which is kind of random, I think, is Jura.
Yeah.
Jura. Yeah. I like,
right.
for whatever reason, that month, like, I like feel that I like Jura. I don't know. But that's the other one for me.
See, this is where I get really proud.
Don't sleep on Savoie too with the Jura.
Yeah.
I think that was not a joint month.
Oh
Was it
my
Jura
God.
and Savoie?
The Jura changed my life.
Yeah.
It was so good. And there was one that you sold not, it wasn't part of the month, but you just like put one in like the case club, whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm already forgetting the name. It was like called 13 hands or 13 hearts or something like that. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah.
Savoy red wine.
Treloon, yeah,
And it
yeah,
was so good. It
Yeah.
kind of has a Beaujolais feeling to it.
yeah.
But we just drank our last bottle and Kevin was feeling very sad about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note,
an Alsace rim month would be,
okay.
Mhm.
If anybody is missing, or like you run low on your stock on the wines from the past, you can just shoot me a text and then I'll see if I can get you some more. It doesn't have to be on Case Club or whatever. Just shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I can get you more.
Okay.
I still want to somehow get some Jura Domaine Labat, I think
Labe, yeah.
because I
have-
have the Mar, like the brandies from that domain,
Yeah.
the Pomace brandies. So I think it would just be super interesting to try
Dude, I have 21 Labe like cellaring in my warehouse.
excellent.
So-
I have 2010 and 2011 distilled Mar. So yeah.
All right,
I
maybe.
know you're iffy on Pomace brandies, but like in my experience, French Pomace brandies are I have had some good grappas, but on
Yeah.
the whole, French Pomace brandy is so much better than Italian Pomace
Yeah.
brandy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do the 2011 wine versus the Mark tasting.
We might have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so anyways, going back to Allison, what you were saying, listening to you say this, what's really striking, what stands out to me, and also part of me makes me devilishly proud, is that, took this warm weather Napa loving Allison Hasser to, you are like a cool climate wine person now. Like you like Loire, you like Jura, you like Savoie, you're like a squarely in an alpine, like cool
Oh
climate
my
wine
gosh.
person now. Like that's
I've
like
changed.
polar opposite in the wine, in the stylistically speaking.
I know.
Wines. So
Get
I
your
know.
Alberta heritage, Allison.
I've changed.
yeah.
I've changed. Yeah, I know. It makes more sense, right? Damn it.
Are we technically after hours now?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
let
yeah.
me turn off the recordings and yeah.